Islam, peace and love, everyone. I am Arum Bey, all rights reserved. It is January 29, 2023, Gregorian calendar. And I'm here with my magnificent bros, and he is.
All right, y'all. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Brother Hasan Ghaziel Bey here in Morocco at Northwest of Maxim. How are you? Let's get it. I'm ready for this one, bro. I'm always ready. Like, let's get it, bro. This one's gonna be brief, and we just going straight. Pew, pew, pew. We're gonna be surgical with this one, bro. Flat out.
Islam, another AstroCivics Sunday, right? I think you want to start off with a little bit of astrology. You said the moon is trining, was it Pluto there?
Yeah. Actually, let me go and share the screen here, right? And it's funny because as you guys, I know you guys can see the title, right? As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me do this real quick too, right? Boom. Let me grab this. Copy. Right? Grab that real quick. And then so guys, look at this right here, right? So this is happening from near the Baltimore Corporation, Maryland State Republic at 52 minutes and 36 seconds after midnight, right? Luna is clearly in the 7th house, all righty? Moon is in the 7th house at 28 degrees, Taurus, 36 minutes. Pluto's in the 3rd house, 28 degrees, Capricorn, 36 minutes. What's very interesting, the title here for AstroCivics Sunday is, did you consent? Right? And what's interesting is consent is when someone communicates, 3rd house, to, communicate to an agreement in relating with someone. And 7th house is relating. So the people are going to find value in relating, right? People, moon, value, Taurus, in relating, 7th house. Things that are actually transformative in terms of joint account energies, Pluto, and the essentials to that, Capricorn, and making sure that those things are communicated. So we're making sure that, the joint accounting energies to be jointly accountable and have the essentials communicated and being jointly accountable in harmony with the people really finding the values in that while relating to one another. And that itself is Moon trine Pluto. All righty. So it's only right that, as I and Brother are brainstorming, and I'll probably, we'll see if Mother Malika comes through, right? When I start the screen share, I'll go and send her that Zoom link. Like, hey, you want to come in? We're going in on the importance of consent. I already have like 4 windows ready to go, really, for us to share and really just kind of give our thoughts on. For the most part, you already know, Brother R is going to present first, and I'll just ad-lib accordingly, right? However, like I said, this one's going to be short because, we're actually exercising some jurisprudence strength, right? The both of us. And so we're going to get back to these projects that we're working on. However, we couldn't leave you guys without an AstroCivics Sunday for today. It's just that we've been really going hard, right? So with that being said, guys, that's all I'm going to say there on Moon trine Pluto. Moon in Taurus in the 7th house at 28 degrees, 36 minutes in Taurus. Trining Pluto, all right, it's 28 degrees, 36 minutes in Capricorn in the 3rd house. And that will take place from near the Baltimore Corporation, Maryland State Republic's perspective, right? Looking from that perspective, 52 minutes after midnight, 52 minutes and 36 seconds after 0000 hour. All right. So with that being said, guys, let's get to the importance in making sure that we're communicating the essentials in joint accounting energies for the people to be able to find the values in doing so. All right. So I'm going to stop the screen share there, and I yield to my bro. Is there anything you want to get, put on the table there, Brother R, as far as this topic is concerned, or even what I just said there on the astrology? I yield.
I did notice Saturn in Aquarius in the 4th house is the type of energy I was thinking about when I seen that was discipline, or people sharing a discipline at home, right? So with that, I did see, Venus as well. I believe Venus was in what, Pisces, which would be like a love for like a spirituality at home as well. So I was just kind of seeing that as, people sharing a discipline, love for spirituality, right? At home. So I think maybe this is a great time for people to actually do a little more spiritual exercises. Maybe when you wake up, maybe throughout the middle of the day, maybe you can, replace the prostration of your make a salat 5 times a day with 5 meditations a day. You know what I mean? If you do that sincerely, you might be able to actually grow for yourself and be able to get the best out of that shared discipline for spirituality at home. So that's what I was seeing there.
Mm-hmm. Islam. I mean, I totally agree. It's funny too, since you brought that up, right? Just look at that chart one more time, then before we go in on consent, right? Let me share the screen one last time. And I think that's rather interesting because now when you look at the dispositors pertaining to that, of course, Saturn is ruling from the fourth. It's dominant in Aquarius. However, it says that had accidental debility there. So yeah, we can actually be, very innovative in our home, right? Bringing some sudden changes, going with the flow of energy, bring sudden changes in the home, while also at the same time, Venus is there too in fourth house. So technically by house, Saturn and Venus are conjunct, right? They're in the fourth house ruling over the third and the seventh. So it's very interesting how, you can really bring the essential values pertaining to the wisdom that needs to be poured out about homes, right? So with that being said, all-time security, right? The valuable essentials pertaining to security, right? And the innovations that will have wisdom, the wisdom that is necessary to make people's thinking innovative when even dealing with homes and security and really just overall subconscious thinking, actually, because naturally the fourth house is associated with the moon and Cancer.
I would say to add to your wisdom, well, right now I see a lot of communication between siblings pertaining to inheritance. So, I mean, this is really what's really going on. I know in my world, particularly, like I'm always talking with the bros about, our inheritance, our birthrights, those things that we know that we have right, the meaning to that some, or, tend to feel that is a privilege that one must, apply specific performance in order to exercise. That's not the case. So I'm seeing that with Mars and Gemini in the 8th house. Islam on you.
Islam, bro. So I just think like it's just amazing to see that there's obviously a pattern, right? That we see there, especially pertaining to the particular transit that's applying as far as the lunar transit, lunar trine, Pluto, right? So let me get this shared out to the Telegram group, right? Boom, George Prudence Jim. Boom. And let's let them know that we're live now. So what's your idea about consent, bro? Like, 'cause that's what we're going on. That's what we're going in on today. Did ye consent? Right? So what do you say, bro? How do you see consent, so to speak?
For me, because I deal, I deal with the law, so I'm quite jurisprudent. I think, and I feel like it's indispensable when it comes to matters of dispute, and things of that nature. Consent is indispensable. I think in all situations where it's required, which would be, in order to disturb someone, you need consent. You can't make someone go against their will without consent. So it's as simple, even something as simple as saying like, hey, can you hand me that that glass over there. You know, if they don't consent, you're it's likely you're gonna have to get up and get it yourself. So more so in
Correct.
law, right? Law being more specific, would actually be indispensable for one to not give consent, but then be brought into a situation where they're being demanded to perform, do some type of special performance. That would be actually that would be a violation of due process of law. Process of law requires consent. That's how I feel.
Correct. So that's very, very interesting too. Because that's what we're going in on today. And we're going to see exactly some important documents, right? In times past, right? So to speak, times past. Some not just important documents, but also like case laws, so to speak, right? Look at some of those things there also, right? As far as Cruden versus Neal. So yeah, we're going to the Declaration of Independence briefly, Cruden versus Neal, look at some etymology, right? And then look at some just some basic political, so-called political science perspectives pertaining to consent. All righty. So with that being said, right? Pardon me, I didn't know the camera went away like that. With that being said, let me actually bring that back and let me just kind of see if I can screen share from this one here, right? Because I'm going to start with consent of the government there. That's exactly where I'm going to start, right? Share desktop. And share. All right. So boom, you can see that, right? All right, so here we go. Consent of the governed definition. You just want to read what's there just from me. I just Googled it. I'm like, let's see what happens when I just Google it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Consent of the governed, uncountable, government, political science, philosophy, a political theory in which a government or set of governments could only be deemed legitimate if it is supported by the people under which it exercises its political influence.
So the political influence of like let's go from highest to lowest, right? The political influence of some corporations' legislation, some corporations' executive power, some corporations' judicial power. It can only be exercised. Its political influence can only be exercised if it's supported by the people that it's intending to exercise it for, with, or over, right? So most beings, and this is why, with rapping with Mother Malika earlier, right? And we were able to kind of like brainstorm some things, right? Because at the end of the day, I enjoy jurisprudence exercise. I look at it like if we were hoopers, right? We hooping, right? And we always in the gym for real, got a ball in our hand, always shooting, you know what I'm saying? Always running some type of drills in some way, shape, or form, moving our body a certain way that reflects that we really enjoy basketball. That's what we do with jurisprudence, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? And astrology, of course. You know what I'm saying? It's just that when it comes to the jurisprudence, we know that the jurisprudence is what's going to, because it's funny because I've had both at the same. I've had the astrology and the civics at the same time, right? So I see them being both equally important. That's why we were able to go in astrology first and then go boom right into our presentation, because as it is above, so it is below. As the astrology said, is how we're going to do the civics. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I'm just like, all right. Now, when I really think about this, right? When I really think about it, I said this earlier. McDonald's can't shove McNuggets down my throat if I don't consent to eating McNuggets in the first place, let alone want to shove McNuggets down my throat without my consent. So any practice out there that's happening, even if you are being prevented from doing something, even said prevention from you executing whatever it is that you would like to do, if you did not consent to be prevented,
Right.
you know what I mean? That means that people are using implied thinking to actually force people under some way of being governed, right?
Yes.
So, go ahead, bro. What you say?
Yes. No. That's absolutely correct. That's how I see it. People are always under the assumption that others think like them, or that others have a general understanding, mutual understanding of what things are.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that general understanding is different when it comes to people who study and people who don't. People who have been under the hypnosis of John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates' school system has actually, like, those people under that hypnosis, they don't comprehend how things are actually taking place. Like we just went over, was it last presentation, that sales tax is for the retailer. Like that one thing alone, people don't know that. They're volunteering. They think it's mandatory. I don't know. It's it's like you're in a, what do you call it, Twilight Zone. I walk outside sometimes. When I see people just, you just never know. Sometimes I think you just never know who knows, some of the things but then I look around and I could tell like most people just don't know. However, again, they're consenting, knowingly or unknowingly, they're still consenting. Because if they're not saying, if somebody says, "Hey, I'm gonna take your car for a spin," and grabs your keys off the table, right? You're just gonna let them, or you're gonna say, "Hey, no, I got a doctor's appointment or something. I got something to do." If you just let them grab the keys and they go, you consented. That's another form of consent. People don't realize that when a lot of times when you don't say anything, that's a form of consent. That's an omission, or that's a tacit acquiescence, right? That's a form of consenting by not opposing. And I've seen something about that too, even when they were doing those, promoting the jab and whatnot, saying that I forget what territory it was, but it was dealing with a school where they were saying, that one day they were going to have like a day where they just try to jab up all the children, and they let the parents know. They were going to put the parents on notice and let them know that if they don't opt out, they're automatically opt in. See what I'm saying? I'm
Correct.
like, and that's and we know the injustice in that is the fact that these people know that these people don't read. You know what I mean? Like these people know that average people are not really reading. So
So it's like they're taking the consent. It's the whole like Sedicate Vi Act. It's like until you speak up and say that you do not consent, then consent is accepted as consent is perceived as if you do consent, and the perception of the consent is done in good faith, and it's like nah. nah. So that's why it's important to be jurisprudently strong, right? And to know, how to, for example, when speaking with Mother Malika, like it was great for us to brainstorm, you are and her, right? And as we're brainstorming, and I'm just going over a few things in my mind based off of, the exercises we doing, you see what I'm saying? That I'm gonna get right back to as soon as we finish this live. It's like the reason we're doing what we're doing, the reason why we're sharing what we're sharing is because the foundation to our thinking is the reason they're not supposed to be talking to us is because we never consented to be talked to.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's why it's like, this is why we got to bring this up. You see what I'm saying? This is why we really, really got to bring this up. So a lot of people are even asking questions. Well, like for example, if I'm volunteering for sales tax, then how do I still get the stuff that I want to get? And they still, don't try to get the tax out of me. This is the importance pertaining to each one, reach one, teach one, because there is a tyranny happening on the planet, and it's a consented tyranny by tacit acquiescence. The opposite of consent is acquiescence in this sense, so to speak. However, acquiescence is taken as consent, which in other words, if you didn't speak up and go, like you just said, yeah, sure, I agree. When actually what it should be is, hey, do you agree to this? It's like, it's almost like the importance of the word no. It's like, it's yes until you say no.
Pretty much.
Well, everything's yes until you say no. I'm going to pull on your hair. I'm going to reach in your pocket until you say no.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't say no, that means I can assume and presume that you consent. What you say?
That you don't mind.
Hold on. What'd you say? Say it again. You might get one out on my end.
That if you don't say no or stop you in some way, that you're going to presume that you don't mind what they're doing to you.
Don't mind. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's profound. Like seriously. Because there's no mind to rebut. The assumed acquiescence transmorphed into consent.
That's like, that's like if you try to capture an animal so you can eat it. I don't advise it. However, that animal is not going to consent. It's going to kick, it's going to scream, it's going to bite, it's going to claw or do what it has to do, whatever's in its power to show you that it is not consenting to being eaten.
Correct.
But now if the animal just lays there like, yeah, eat me, you know what I mean? Like, you start plucking the feathers off the chicken, and it's like, ooh, yeah, I can't wait for you to throw me in the pot and bubble me to bubble in this grease or whatever.
Mhm.
If it's doing that, then you know what I mean. The people are not gonna stop eating the chickens. Like, or these people are sick. They're eating them without consent. But it's crazy. Like, consent is I think it's fundamental for society, period, because everything is based off consent. The constitutions, they have to take oaths to it. You know what I mean? 28 USC 453 for the so-called judges.
You said 28 USC 453, right?
Yeah, for the justices and judges. That's the federal statute for their oath of office. So even they deal with consent. They consent to uphold the Constitution. They consent to be bound to the laws of the United States. They consent to uphold the rights of the people as preserved in the Constitution. They consent to carry their offices in good behavior. Right? But they need to know, and they need to know, when they're dealing with these cases on each case by case basis, they need to know the status of the party. That's what I think. I don't know where that got lost along the lines where they stopped talking about the status of the parties, as in, is it a foreigner? Is this a guy from China who has protection under some Chinese treaty with the United States, or is this some ward of the state that it's found to be a natural idiot that is never going to attain competency? That the status is an issue, and when I say that, that's like, who are you, right? Are you what law are they administering there in their venues? It's like you go there and you don't even know what law. Is it English law, right? Is it Moorish law? Is it international law? Is it Christian Black Codes of 1724? We don't know. Like, so you gotta know what's going on, and do you consent, right? Bring up consent, because it's indispensable.
Correct.
Matter of fact, there is a case law that says that too. Pardon me, didn't mean to cut your wisdom. There is a case law that actually says it's indispensable. I think that's where I'm even drawing that conclusion from, a case law I read.
Oh, you find it, bro. Let me know.
I'm gonna pull it up right now because I know I've used it.
All right. So let me check the chat before we go in on this. And I know you're bringing up that case law. And go to the chat. Let's see who's in the YouTube, if there's anyone there. Right. Let's see. All right. It's 9:54 Eastern Standard Time. All right.
Look at that. Consent is an essential requisite of obligation. A contract cannot be valid or legally binding unless consent is given. Consent essentially occurs when two parties mutually agree to form a contract with each other.
Correct. And the terms and conditions of the contract must be clear to both parties. It shouldn't be implied or thought to be one thing, and then there's a gotcha bitch after quote unquote put autograph to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's an issue. Martin Elliott, peaceful greetings. Mother Sahar, Antonio Bay. Martin Elliott says, Islam knows my studies today led me to a question about the 7 Hermetic principles and their relationship to astrology. Would that be the connection Noble Ali was making in the Circle 7 Islam? Yeah, I mean, to me, according to my studies, Prophet Noble Ali was speaking about all of the Gnostic, so to speak, teachings. It is Hermeticism to me that Prophet Noble Ali is presenting, ultimately. Peace and greetings, Mother Sahara. Indeed. Martin says they came to this question while reading religious controversy in the Moorish literature, right? Which we were supposed to read on Friday. I remember too, man. We didn't get into that on Friday, but
yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I got it somewhere. I know I brought it up on the iPad. I think I probably still got it queued. Actually, he highlights that the denial of truth is what would keep Northwest of Maxim in a state of controversy. Yeah, and that's the thing. Truth is expressed in an affidavit, right? And those of us that, declare and proclaim my nationality, and even though I go to the George British Gym, I still stick to making sure my documents reflect that I'm Moorish American unapologetically, you know what I mean? From the header to the footer, right? From the opening to the closing. Moorish American all the way. So with that being said, like I stand there and ultimately, like, because I'm not out here causing physical harm to anyone. So for me, if there's anyone seeking to make a claim or a suit against the first thing I'm going to think to myself is I didn't consent to be sued. So I don't consent or sanction whoever the attorney is for the party bringing suit. It's like, okay, well, that attorney doesn't qualify because 9 times out of 10, they're not being an attorney the way that they can only be an attorney. And that's by some freaking board. Can't be by a singular sentient being, can't be by some sole proprietor. It has to be a board or a commission that decides to hire in their meetings minutes and document in the meetings minutes. That's what they choose to just whisper in their ear what to do as far as that's concerned, as far as statutes, codes, policies, laws, so to speak, right? So if you don't have minimum contacts like a state ID, a state driver's license, you don't have the state birth certificate, you do not have
business organized under, you don't have a business organized under the laws of the state.
You don't have a business organized under the laws of the state, then at the end of the day, you don't consent to be governed under state laws, through state courts, any of that. So technically the venue is federal. However, even though they're colorable as far as like, not honoring on many cases, I still think I think it's something there where it can be enforced. However, I think there's so much automation going on, and since most of the courts are colorable, that most people are doing banking, and they're doing banking of the Federal Reserve energy, right? So what they seek to do is to, you gotta do the whole so-called filing fee shit or whatever, we was discussing with Malika, and it's like, no, they gotta uphold the Constitution.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
gotta do a free, speedy trial. Like free and speedy.
Yo,
Freedy. What did you say?
Oh, never mind. I guess I sent something in the chat to analyze after we go over this definition, which I feel is pretty enlightening.
Go ahead, bro. Read it. You can read it. I yield.
Well, for consent. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to, don't. I'll read it because we got a verb and a noun.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
All right. So the doing, the verb, right? Consent, circa 1300. So around the time about the 1300s, Anno Domini. Quote, agree, give assent, yield when one has the right, power, or will to oppose. So consent is also a will to oppose, right? Because if you consent to one thing and not another, that you are not, consenting to, you're actually opposing. From Old French, consentir. Quote, agree, comply, You don't have to comply if you don't consent. End
Yeah.
quote. 12th
That's like saying,
century.
so does that mean when you say I'm complying under duress, that's like saying I consent under duress?
Well, then that's not consent. That's threat. Like, well, threat, duress, and coercion. Of course, the threat is them, using some arm, some firearm to force one into acting some way.
That's where it becomes involuntary.
Correct.
That's involuntary consent.
Correct. The duress is you are in a mind state pertaining to peace, and now they are inflicting emotional distress.
And now they are meeting your peaceful mind state with a warring mind state.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which would create duress.
Mm-hmm.
And coercion is you have your mind governing your body to move a certain way upon your ancestral estate. However, someone with the threatening arms or weapon or whatever the case may be, that is creating a state pertaining to duress in your mind now has coerced your movement, which means you're not moving as you see fit in your own governing pertaining to yourself, right? And we'll get into more of that. What'd you say?
Like damming up your movement.
Correct, which is what this is all about. Like, that's what's going on the planet. What's going on the planet is Unum Sanctum policy is seeking to control how you move, down to making two-way streets one-ways, down to putting parking restrictions on asphalt and concrete, right? Down to many things. And all the people have to do is not consent.
Exactly.
That's really what it is. And then, at the end of the day, like, the not consenting portion is actually simple. However, people's willfulness to force you to comply is what makes not consenting seem very dutiful and laborious. So that's why I think a lot of people be like, oh man, that's too much to study law, man. Why don't you just comply and just do the right thing and get a job, and man, why don't you just go and get some Federal Reserve notes, man, and just get along with everybody else? Well, I do not want to acquiesce. I do not want to capitulate. When the law says to do this, but yet it's multiple people practicing the opposite of fulfilling the law. However, many people will say, well, since they consent to not fulfill the law, don't they have that right? What if that's their religion? Lawlessness is not a religion.
Yeah, and then what is the purpose of the law then? The law is just a front for the people who can't afford to be free? Is that what it is?
It makes me see why when people talk about the DC sniper, I ain't gonna front. That's what I think sometimes when I think of Leroy Malvo and John Muhammad. This is what I think. They knew that there was some unfair forced to comply energies on the planet. And I think they were just taking out those kind of people. Honestly, some way, shape, or form. Because that's what my spirit keeps going to. It's like, see, what happens when this is why it's important for each one, reach one, teach one. Because there is going to come a time, and it's actually here now. People are shooting these policy enforcers. And then the policy enforcers are warring amongst themselves. People are using constitutional officers, like so-called sheriffs, to try to make people homeless against Title 42 United States Code 11311. It is illegal and unlawful to make people homeless. And then they want to use a constitutional officer to enforce a forcible entry and detainer for eviction without a HUD due process hearing under 42 United States Code 1437 DK. No due process hearing, and there must be drug use and drug abuse in order to do a forcible entry and detainer. But guess what? One must be one who has consented to that. So they must be a resident. How do you get to be a resident? By having a driver's license from the state, an ID from the state.
By claiming you live in the state and that all
Right.
of the time that you spend in the state is your residency.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just not like, just because you're somewhere on the land and there's some occupying there's some occupying energy and they think it's their territory, that's gang culture.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Gangs in New York. And so now the people have to speak up and go, tweet, time out. I don't consent to you calling my garden your territory. Because your territory is only within the exterior bounds pertaining to whatever state of, insert state of name there, right? District of Columbia, Guam, Virgin Islands, Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, and American Samoa, I think. When you look at Title 26 pertaining to the United States Code, which is the Internal Revenue Code. Moors are tax non-obligated. So we're allergic to Title 26 by birthright. We're allergic to Title 26 by birthright. We do not consent to being taxed in the form of people assuming and presuming that Moorish Americans are in the city, in the county, in the state, in the United States. If there is no documentary evidence on the record, that's the whole purpose of declaring and proclaiming your nationality, to show that you do not consent.
Right.
That act in itself is a protest. That act in itself is your will to oppose exercised by declaration and publication. That's the importance in declaring and proclaiming your nationality. And it should be over at that point. It should be. However, more people need to each one, reach one, teach one, and sue beings preemptively. In other words, before something goes down, already put something in. Oh, trust me, I've learned. I've learned from not doing those things.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, 12th century, which is the 1100s, and directly from Latin consentire. This is where I am right here, guys. Let me go and do that. Consentire. Quote, to agree. All right, quote, agree, accord, end quote, literally, quote, feel together, quote unquote, from assimilated form of com, quote, with, together, see, com, the prefix, plus Sentire, quote, to feel, end quote. See, sense, the noun, sense of the word sense. Quote, feeling together, end quote, hence, agreeing, giving permission, agreeing, giving permission. Remember, permission is license. End quote. A sense evolution that apparently took place in French before the word reached English, related, consented, consenting. The noun form pertaining to consent, circa 1300, quote, approval, voluntary acceptance of what is done or proposed, end quote.
Jesus.
That's why, what'd you say?
Jesus.
Jesus Christ. This is why we have to, why is their attorney no authority? Because we don't consent to be sued by someone's attorney who think they can just be a talking bar rat. Why are we disqualifying judges? Because we don't consent, and that fucking judge swore an oath to make sure that it only is administering its duties in cases of people, of plaintiff and defendant. They're like kind. If someone is an alleged defendant that has not consented, if someone is an alleged defendant who has not consented, if someone is an alleged defendant who has not consented to be governed that way, to be sued in any venue, then the attorney needs to be disqualified because they have no authority. So you ask them, hey, by what authority are you doing this? You have a delegation of authority from the state's attorney general, from the governor. Because you can't singularly just up and talk. All you're supposed to be doing is whispering in somebody's ear, and then that somebody whose ear you whispering in is the actual injured party. And if there's no injured party,
Yikes.
and someone's trying to adjudicate a case sitting bench, they need to be disqualified because that said judge, magistrate, chief judge, judicial officer, they have sworn an oath, right? Then bro just talked about 28 United States Code 453. They got an oath of office to make sure they don't do that dumb shit. They should be snitching on each other. The clerk should be snitching on the judge. Like Malika said, they should all be watching each other. Not the common people who have not consented to be brought into some circus ring. However, what's being done by threat, duress, and coercion is, well, you're volunteering, you're voluntarily accepting what is being done or proposed. No. There is no consent. So now you got to disqualify the attorney and the judge. And we was talking about that with Malika, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I had one of those, got it, Malika, I see it. Again, there's that principle. Notice the agent is notice the principle. Notice the principle is notice the agent. So you disqualify one, you disqualified all. Technically. And we're getting to a point here that we've got tons of documentation for peace on this planet. And it's getting to a point where, like I said, I'm not going to be, you're going to see more people shooting policy enforcers, shooting sheriffs, shooting magistrates and judges. I mean, they should stop doing what they're doing. I'm telling you, that's what you guys are going to see. You're going to see that more and more because the people don't consent. And there's some people out there who just, they're going, I mean, I've even seen it. in certain social media groups. But we don't have time to do this. And like that, sometimes people that say they don't have time and they get frustrated and lose their patience. They're the ones that will grab the yow and pow pow. So I'm thankful for the jurisprudence gym where we can go and exercise that which we have foundationally been raised on in Moor's Heritage and History School via rvbaypublications.com. The videos, for me, myself, I see a lot of people are posting C. Freeman L. You know, it's funny because there wasn't nobody going, but I know once I mention stuff, once Seven Hill Star mentions things and we do things, then, you know, it inspires the Moorish movement, especially in these days and times. And it's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. Because that's how I got it. RV Bay Publications, C. Freeman L. for my first 3 months. And then I finally got introduced to Brother Taj's videos. I was like, oh, snap. That's why I said for me, it was always astrology and civics. All the time. Right? So with that being said, now, again, let's go back to consent in noun form. Circa 1300 approval, voluntary acceptance of what is done or proposed. End quote. Hey, cutie. Where you going? I'm about to say, you can come sit next to me if you want. I won't bite you. Or maybe I will. I'll take it. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Y'all still watching the show? All right, cool. Yeah, I'll be complete soon. So with that being said, right? Also, quote, agreement in sentiment, unity in opinion. Whoa, end quote. I consent to Seven Hill Star. What about you, bro? Do you consent? Do we have unity and opinion here?
Yeah, we have mutual meeting of minds.
We have agreement in sentiment here. From Old French, consent or consent, right? From consentir. Quote, agree, comply, end quote. From Latin, consentire, agree, accord, quote unquote. Literally, feel together, quote unquote. From assimilated form of comb, quote, with, together, end quote. See, comb. I know I read it already. I'm reading it again. Plus, sentire, to feel, quote unquote. See, sense, the noun sense, right? In Middle English, sometimes in the negative sense, quote, yielding to sinful desire. Whoa, that's that forcible, right? What if yielding to sinful desire is someone else desiring you to yield to something you don't want to do? So that's that involuntary consent that you was talking about.
Right, that's what I was saying. Like
how's it something involuntary but voluntary? Go ahead. I'm just saying that's what it is, though.
No, I was saying like an older man might have the game to talk to like say a girl's 18. It might be legal for him to have relations with her, but she's 18, you're 45, you've lived for how many more years. So when you get in her ear, you might convince her to consent. But that's to me that's like taking advantage as well. You know what I mean?
Islam. I agree.
That's like check it out. That's like near the Las Vegas Strip, what they call it, the Las Vegas Strip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tourists gonna get charged $40 a gram for some trees. Why? Because they're not from the area, so they don't know what the area price actually is. So they're gonna get hit over the head, and they're gonna consent, but it's almost like an involuntary consent, almost like fuck, we're out here, we don't know anybody, so we can. You see what I'm saying? That's like an adhesion contract, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One side of the contract has all of the bargaining power. That's what a Hesian contract is.
Yeah, exactly. Very unconscionable that contract is because it's one-sided. And therefore it isn't a contract, just like involuntary consent isn't true consent. An unconscionable contract isn't a contract because there must be, in legal parlance, a meeting of the minds mutually when it comes to a contract. Same with consent. There must be a meeting of the minds mutually.
Yeah.
Right? Melissa Hart says, Antonio Bay says, Islam, kindred, peace and love. They're going to be, quote, sheep for the slaughter, end quote. Melissa Hart says, she also says exactly, the term should be clear. She also says, like, everyone complied and consented with wearing the masks, including some grand sheiks.
Yikes.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, bro.
And she said,
long,
for the
bro.
record, she said, for the record.
Uh-huh.
I got a record that I can pull up of me fighting that shit. And I'm getting them, man, look, I think we're the reason they even withdrew the policy at the time when they did it.
Islam.
Mm-hmm.
We were
Islam.
making
Islam.
civically we were making noise.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Islam. I mean, bro, at the end of the day, it's like, like,
She's grand sheiks.
what? There's nothing else to do but speak up whether you consent or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That's
somebody's trying to have their way with your mind
Right.
at all times. Why is someone trying to have way with your mind?
And your body at that point, if they're telling you to put on a mask.
Right. Because as you think, so are you.
That's like saying,
As ye think, so are ye.
can someone tell you, no, you're gonna wear this today? They're telling you to wear a mask. You wouldn't let someone else say, no, you're gonna wear this if you want to go outside today. Like what?
Islam.
Think of how many people are in correctional facilities that didn't have an injured party for what they are being forced to be corrected in. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, hold on. If they didn't consent to be corrected and they don't have an injured party,
And it's unconscious. So speaking of unconscionable, the next the document that I sent to you, I believe, into the chat, it's a constitutional, like a law review dealing with consent in the 4th Amendment about like consent to search and stuff like that. An unconscious being cannot voluntarily consent.
which means they shouldn't even be forced because a minor can't be a party to a contract.
Right.
So to go and police a people that aren't the police is grounds for the rule pertaining to treason, because the people have a right to be secure in their person. Okay, let's be like this. I and my brothers have the right to be secure in Seven Hill Star Astrology Firm. However, Seven Hill Star Astrology Firm is a non-statutory person. We're not under statute. We're not doing this at the pleasure of the governor of any said state of corporation. And we're not being lawless at the same time. We're actually real law enforcers, actually. Seven Hill Star is real law enforcement, if not the only law enforcement on the planet. I'm not saying all of the people in de facto government are bad people. You got some good magistrates, some good so-called judges and chief judges. Then you got some bad apples. And a lot of these beings are part of the National Conference
Right.
of Commissioners.
Yeah, you'll see.
On uniform state laws. Yeah, the ULC, the NCC USL, National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws. So a lot of these people be members of this bar rat, these bar members. You guys really think who's running your government? Oh, not your. Let me rewind that. Running these de facto governments, right? These corporations. You guys really think it's like anybody else other than the bar rats, the British accredited registry? They all decided to start their own voluntary group. Oh, let's all volunteer and be a part of the National Conference of Commissioners on Universal State Laws.
It sounds like they're trying to usurp the legislature.
And they are, because they came up with two things that stick out to me is the Uniform Commercial Codes and the Landlord Tenant Act. And we already know the Landlord Tenant Act is so that it circumvents common law. It's like, okay, let's make the contract, which is the lease, the law, and let's ignore the common law. Who consents to that? 1, 2, 3, not it.
Not it.
You know what I'm saying? I don't consent to that.
Are you laughing at the chat, bro? Bro, I seen that shit. I wait till you see the chat, bro.
I missed something.
I shared some shit that I seen from people out here that are just hilarious.
That shit says, "What if?" I'm gonna just leave it there.
Oh, okay. I didn't go there yet. Okay. You talking about our Instagram chat? See, man,
Oh yeah,
you
good.
We got the littiest Instagram chat ever. I promise you, we got the littiest Instagram chat ever.
These people lost their minds.
Say it loud.
Wow, it really says that. It really says that.
Basically.
And what if you are black? What?
Say it loud.
All capital black.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's really horrible.
Oh, man.
That's a psychological operation to make the people even further docile. See, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
Not only not consent, however, stop giving your energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you see something that is like, oh, they said this is popular, all the people are talking about it, and it's called being the blackest black that ever blacked. Don't watch
black
that
and not
shit.
black, y'all.
Like, don't watch that shit.
Yeah.
Because only idiots would call brown skin black. Only idiots
You
would
gotta be
call
covered.
locks braids or short hair with a temp taker a bush. Like, are they idiots?
Or only an idiot would call a fez a beanie.
Correct.
Goodness gracious.
I have evidence.
God damn it.
I
A
swear.
beanie. Where's the propellers?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
Right?
Your camera's muted.
Yeah, oh, forgive me. That's why, because I was looking at what you said in the chat. Let me slide it on over from the other side, because it tucked in the side. So I was just looking at what you so. Oh yeah, so deputies and cops say they're going to arrest each other because they couldn't. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, motherfuckers, y'all fight amongst yourselves. Yes.
I thought that was a hilarious title. I didn't even watch it yet. I just thought it was a hilarious title, like deputies and city cops try to arrest each other. Like, that's hilarious. That's
what I want to see. I want to see that. I want to see like them fighting each other, you know, deputies or judges committing suicide from being investigated by judicial discipline. I love all of that. That just Yeah, that's amazing. That's what I want to see. If I had a choice to see what's on TV, is these people in de facto positions finally getting their ass whipped, finally getting what they deserve for treason.
Speaking of judicial discipline, I have a judicial discipline complaint that's going to be looked at February. That's right around the corner.
Say that again.
I said, speaking of judicial discipline, I have a complaint with the Judicial Discipline Commission against a so-called judge, and that's going to be reviewed in February because they meet quarterly, so 4 times a year. So February is their first meeting of this fiscal new year. So we're going to see what happens, right? Because after that is federal lawsuit.
Islam can't nickety knock it at all.
Drop the bomb on him.
Can't niggity knock it at all.
Please
don't drop
What you say?
Please don't drop a bomb on me. Ara, please.
I don't want no doggone beef.
Y'all are hilarious, man. So if I slide on over to the next tab, right? And I know you said you got something to share too, bro. You said also, because I think it was like a case law you had read first about consent.
There's that too. I forgot about it too.
There was something you had said about consent. And see, and I've already done a control F for the word consent in the said Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4, 1776. Right? Shoot, Jag, you're here. You want to read that, Jag?
Islam. In Congress, July 4, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human
Wait,
events,
hold on. What? 13 what?
United States.
Lowercase u.
Well, what I'm saying is, I thought it was only one United States of America. Apparently, there's 13 of them.
According to this unanimous, declaration, right?
Right.
When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's gods entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
In other words, what's your cause of action? What's your cause of action that impelled you to separate?
And every man must worship under his own vine and fig tree.
Islam.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. All is mine. That they are endowed by their creator, their mother, with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
Jesus, Bruce Lee Christ.
They're just powers. They don't have any unjust powers.
Islam.
Given to them by the people. So they can't exercise powers that are unjust. Because they haven't derived any of those from the consent.
Or that aren't instituted from man.
Right.
So that would be our Cruden versus Neal case law, right?
Indeed. Anything that's not any law that's not derived from nature is not not derived from nature. Any law that is not nature's law, you're not automatically bound to it without giving consent.
Islam.
Correct. So let's see.
The exact wording is every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature.
Islam. Say that one more time for him, bro.
Every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without his consent.
Islam.
And that's what's right there.
He is not. He is not.
Therefore, oh, matter of fact, there it is.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna take you to. I got Creed versus Neil. Also, I'm just showing you the second place where consent shows up in the Declaration attaining independence. We yield, Jag.
Islam. He has kept among. I'm gonna go from the top. I'm gonna just go from the top. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance, liberty. He has kept among us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislator. So we didn't declare.
So it's still happening now. There's a energy, a spirit that is possessing different bodies on the planet, like the movie Fallen. And if that spirit was there in 1776, it's more than 200 years later. So it's almost 250 years later. Hold on, let me see. 18, 19, 2076 is technically 53 years away. So that's 240. That's 200. That's a whole Pluto cycle. 247 years, right? 247 years that there's a spirit on the planet that wants to keep standing armies. Because let's not fool ourselves. I was in the jurisprudence gym and Malika was like, find your state statute where it says the governor is the commander in chief of the military or the militia. Why are people voting for the executive branch? Do you get that? That's it's all military. Why are you people consenting to military being here? And so now that should make you see the occupation. So this is why each one needs to reach one and teach one, so that there's enough documentation that's set out there to stop these beings from doing what they're doing and minimize them to only governing themselves. They need to like that like that video in the chat. The sheriffs and the policy enforcers need to be threatening to arrest each other. The bar attorneys and the clerks and the chief judges, magistrates, and other judges and justices, they should only be threatening each other with lawsuits, not the people, not the sentient beings that didn't consent. Right? Let's find the next place consent is here. And you guys might want to go and just read the Declaration of Independence on your own. Wow. I didn't I just say Moors are non-tax obligated? Look at this.
So I'm to the top again with it so we can get it. He has combined with others to subject us. And so, with other nations, to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation.
Whoa. And what do General Assemblies do? General Assemblies have their public acts that they turn into statutes. This is why we're not saying the statutes and municipal codes and all, we're not saying that's our salvation. We're saying hold them people that want to act. Look, hey man, that's your shit. So you need to be doing this according to your own rules. The only reason I know your motherfucking rules is because I had to make sure, like, oh, okay, I don't consent to this, nor do I qualify for this. So since I don't qualify for this, nor do I consent to it, let me remind you that these are your rules. Because I'm not over here playing make-believe legislation.
Literally. We didn't make this up. This is documented before all three of us here, specifically physically formed, were manifest. So yeah.
Correct. For me, it's about 200 and let's see.
They don't have to know. It's really not
219 years prior to my manifestation.
It's none of their business anyway.
Right? I think that's about right. So what are we doing this year? Are we allowing municipal code enforcers, state statute enforcers, federal code enforcers? Are we allowing these people to continue to force the sentient beings to consent to some? If you don't consent, you shouldn't look. If you didn't injure somebody, create a bodily injured party, a corpus delicti, you shouldn't be consenting to anything. No so-called traffic ticket, no so-called disorderly conduct because you just wanted to raise your voice, no evictions, no anything that's non-violent. And I'm not condoning that you do things. What I'm saying is, know that you didn't consent to be governed that way. And what you do consent to be governed as shouldn't be construed for discriminatory purposes to try to force you into jurisdictions that are derived from make-believe legislation. I yield, bro.
Because they said so. Basically. Islam. Given his assent to their acts of pretended legislation for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial, from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. We've all seen that. All the time.
Again, no due process.
They're telling people when they come in for traffic courts, oh no, you can't. We don't. There's no trial by jury for traffic cases.
Oh my goodness, you just lied. They lied on the record, for the record. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. For establishing lying, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, which is nature's laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. I'm gonna read that one again.
Which again, you didn't consent. to that.
Yeah.
So you got to disqualify these people. Or there's going to be another war on the planet because people are going to, we're not going to take it. I'm trying to tell you, I think that's how the next one will start off. Y'all going to hear that music everywhere you go. You're like, you know what? Let me go over here where I don't hear that music so I'm not mistaken.
That's that.
No, we ain't going to take it. All right, go ahead.
Being pulverized into powder. But yeah, so I'm for suspending our own legislators and declaring, and you know, we should like emphasize this declaring word and recognize how repetitive that word is, declaring. For suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government
against their consent.
It's not.
Wow.
It's not. We didn't declare that. That wasn't our legislative declaration.
Right.
It never was declared that way.
Consent.
Ever. He has abdicated government by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
So with that being said, like, that's why I said that spirit is still on the planet now in the form of policy enforcers, sheriffs, undercover policy enforcers, in unmarked land conveyances, which means they're out of uniform. If they don't have on the uniform and he's got on the vest and a t-shirt that says police.
Yeah. They got on a badge that's just was a badge and it said they are whoever they say they are.
Cool.
It's tyranny.
It's going to come a time where I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time. You're going to be seeing more and more people. Like in other news today, there was 3 policy enforcers that got shot in the face right out point blank range by just common people. What's going on in the world? It's a travesty. No, it's the spirit of tyranny being checked. I'm not excited that anyone does that. I just can see the future. So I can see the dimensions that are to manifest termed the future. I'm telling you, we got to get it together, y'all.
It's happening. The people are indeed standing up, and it's just what it is. It's the same cycle from 1776, obviously. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall on themselves by their own swords, by their own hands, right? He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages. Interesting. Whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. This seems very, the being who was writing this, it has it's very truthful, but then it's very self-inflicted at the same time. And everything
I
with these
imagine
oppressions,
this being some Albion who probably didn't get express permission. And it's like, we're just setting up stuff. Why are you bothering us? And it's like, this is like, are you guys real? That's why I said it's a spirit. Like, okay, you can be anywhere on the planet, right? And they said all minds are created equal, right? Okay, cool, got it.
Right.
However, our ancestors, 9 times out of 10, had some type of rule going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now the Albion, you gotta remember, like that's what made the Sultan do what he did back then. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, look, y'all leave them alone, because the Sultan comprehended karma and karmic debt.
Mm-hmm.
And the need for there to be a balanced harmony. However, there was just some Moors that was like, fuck that. Every ship of them Albions or whomever, that, and it's not our people. It was like, man, fuck what that Sultan say. Yo, I'm burning they shit and I'm taking they chicks. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that's really, that's really,
I don't give a
that's
fuck.
really,
I don't give a fuck.
I'm burning
Fuck
they shit,
that
taking
tree.
they-
Basically. They burn books anyway.
you know what I'm saying? And the thing about it, that was, you gotta think. So that again shows a family feud, right? So let's just say it's us looking like the Sultan and us disagreeing with the Sultan, just people that look like us. And we've done this horrible karmic thing where we've extended the life of the pale skin here past what the actual plan was. And now what we are doing here is allowing a balance and a course of nature to take place until it's actually no more pale skins.
So.
And as sad as that may sound, however, it is true. That's why when you really know this history and know the science completely and can fully discern and have insight and intuition, you don't be mean about it.
So.
You don't be a liar either.
So.
So when I'm seeing you read this, brother, and we're gonna leave the people to read the rest of this. We're gonna go to the next joint about consent and read that, and then we got some other things to complete. But I want brother Ara to go over what he was talking about, and then we're gonna yield. You know what I'm saying? However, I brought up Cruden versus Neil to go along with this whole consent thing that we're speaking on here, right? And so everyone can be able to allow themselves to really contemplate consent. I don't think a lot of people have contemplated consent how we're discussing it right now.
So.
And I don't think people are really even seeing that they have built their life on capitulation for comfort. Whereas we can have those same comforts absent of the threat, duress, and coercion. Because it's only a small few that are enforcing the threat, duress, and coercion. We outnumber those that are utilizing threat, duress, and coercion. The weakness comes in the mindset in knowing how to rebut and rebuke said beings that utilize threat, duress, and coercion.
So look, just let's give them a visual for that. So look, we see one man or one woman being mishandled by 3 policy enforcers, and there's 6 of us walking down the street. We outnumber those beings, so we can stop that right there, without anything being, without harm, or let's say without anyone being killed. Let's put it like that, because of course we might have to, somebody might have to be slammed, possibly, because you don't put your hands on women, right? So we would indeed defend that, but that's just simply it's as simple as that. If we have the numbers that outnumbers these policy enforcers who say they are protecting rights, which in reality they aren't, all we got to do as a people just unify. It's that simple.
Correct. But it's 3 policy enforcers on just one man and one woman, but they got pistols on them. And I know it's 6 of us, but what if they shoot one of us?
Man,
maybe
listen.
the plan would be to disarm them. Literally, I mean, like when I say disarm, in my head, I see like the 6 of us, we walk with scimitars, and if their arms is far enough from the people, I'm hitting them at least at the elbow.
The energy itself, they're not even going to be able. That's not a thought. What if is not a thought? What if
what if doesn't exist?
That's not a thought. That woman right there is being mishandled for no reason. Where's the injured party? We don't see anybody else on the scene that she harmed. So why are they doing that to her right now?
So you just hurry up and run behind those 3 policy enforcers, since it's 6 of us, 2 each, and then we just hurry up and run and snap their necks. Because Steven Seagal style.
The one that's on the lady, we can 2 on him. Boom, he gone. It don't even matter. It's all. We don't even got it. We're not gonna give them the formula, but it's all unity. Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm serious though, because I think we have to start thinking like this, because
seriously, Islam.
If we were to put the yarmulke on, right? Let's put our heads in someone else's yarmulke right now, for example, right? And let's say, right? Oh, and peaceful greetings. I see Michael Fort says Islam Moors. I see Brother R said Islam and love, Islam, peace and love to all mothers and sons in attendance. Mother Sahar is laughing. Indeed, absolutely, she says, and more laughter. So I'm just thinking, like, let's put our heads in someone else's yarmulke. If you really think about it, right? Are the Ashkenazis, see, and it's funny because the Ashkenazis have occupied Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? However, no one's going to, there's not an energy that's threatening them.
It's not.
Currently. You get what I'm saying? There's not an energy threatening them. And even if it was, I'm pretty sure it would get handled in the way that whoever carried the threat out in any way, shape, or form will probably be thinking to themselves, man, I should have never fuck with them. Like, seriously, like, I think that would be what it is. Right? So now let's look at it like, how come policy enforcers aren't doing what they're doing to those that speak Hangul, so-called Koreans? They're afraid they're gonna get their ass karaticized. You know what I mean? Just think about, just think about groups of beings of other Moors, right? That may be Manchurian, Ashkenazi, there's some other sentient being on the planet. 9 times out of 10, they're going to immediately retaliate because they have a sense of humanity and oneness amongst them. Let's just put it like this.
Yo, what you saying is on point. I just seen a video of the dude from, I don't know, he's from Pakistan or where he is from, but he was like, he was in garb, you know what I'm saying? He was in habit wherever he's from. He had his stole, he had his headdress, national headdress on, and they did him dirty, right? Because somebody called, he went into the hotel and then he asked for a room, but it was booked. So he asked if they had any recommendations. They told him to sit down in the lobby while they checked something for him. And then the police showed up. So when you listen to the police phone call, they was talking about he had extra phones on him and that he was pledging allegiance to ISIS on some other shit.
Oh, God.
So when the police came, like, they had him laid out like this, you know what I mean? Like, grabbing all his stuff, threw his phone, broke his phone, and all type of shit. But he's suing the shit out of that police department, like, not playing with them at all. Like, they got a major lawsuit on their hands for doing that to that man because he's from another country. He literally just moved here to, I don't know if it was like to do some school shit or a job or something like that. And they really discriminated on him based on his national origin.
Correct.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure wherever he's from, he's probably like a freaking prince or a prince's son or something. And yeah, they're not going to allow that injustice to take place because you already know they know fiqh. Fiqh is what is termed Islamic jurisprudence. FIQ. Fiqh.
So
They're going to immediately enforce fiqh. And like religious controversies, we're not here imparting this to those that don't know. We're not imparting our wisdom to fools. This is for those 10 to 15, and sometimes we saw just the other day, 20 people that come to Seven Hill Star, right? And if you're not an asshole out of those enumerated, so to speak, and non-statutorily enumerated, I'm just saying those of you that come and view, you know, this information is for you guys to make your lives and your loved ones' lives better, actually. Yeah, it would be great. We could all thrive and enjoy, you know, the fruits of what's on the planet, right? Because everything comes from the planet. I don't care what it is. If it's a house, the bricks came from the earth. The wood came from the trees. All the elements, even down to the drywall, comes from something on the earth, remixed and formed into something else. All from the earth, right? So with that being said, we have to find a way to say that we do not consent to have our ancestral estate sold back to us. We do not consent to have inalienable, unalienable rights tried in venues that we never consent to have our inalienable, unalienable rights tried in. Abrogated. Because Cruden versus Neal says what? Starting from there, every man what?
Every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without his.
Yeah, bro.
Did you hear me?
Is that okay? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you didn't hear me just read it?
I just heard without his, and then it went out for me.
Oh, without his consent. The plaintiff here is not stated by the plea ever to have become a citizen or member of North Carolina. The fact
So in other words, hold on just one moment, let me add to your wisdom. So wherever you are on the planet and some state court is trying to adjudicate upon you or have you in their venue based on some militia termed policy enforcers, police, or sheriffs, or any other private corporate mercenary security guard. If you never, ever consented to become a citizen or a member of said state of corporation, you cannot be held to be, that's grounds for disqualifying the attorneys and the judges.
the entire case.
Shout out to Malika.
Say that again, bro. They ain't here. Yeah, say that again, bro.
Yeah, that's grounds for disqualifying the entire case.
That's grounds for disqualifying the attorneys and the judges. And never forget, notice the principal is notice the agent is notice the principal. So you disqualify one attorney, you disqualify all attorneys. You disqualify one judge, said magistrate, said justice, whoever, you disqualify all of them. And we, being a people, need to consent in the mind, which means we need to have a unity of thinking, a unity in thought. oh, policy enforcers are trying to fuck with me. I remember what we were supposed to do after, listening to Seven Hill Star, studying on RV Bay, or really being at Lawful Living and George Prudence Gem. I should be going to the risk management to make a complaint on these people. I should know what actually binds these people, because I already know who I am and what I need to be doing in life. However, I need to make sure I know these things, because the only other thing that I can think of, this is me speaking like I'm the voice of the people for a moment. The only thing I can think of is chop their head off, hang them in their favorite color noose if they're able to get the word out before I put the noose around their neck. Hey, what favorite color you want to? That's how it would go. Like, we would be asking what favorite color, and we would be hearing them. Yeah. Oh, beige is your color? Sorry. It's the only rope I had. I could have dyed it for you. And this is where we have to be, guys. Because now we're calling for a time of pure balance. All the imbalances have passed. And we have seen what the imbalance has had, the imbalance pertaining to the matriarch, the imbalance pertaining to the patriarch. This is why both are needed. But they can't be distinguished, called matriarch or patriarch, or the matriarch and patriarch coming. No. It needs to be called what it was always called from the jump, and that is mothers and sons. Period. Humanity? Anyone?
Islam, bro.
Right?
Islam.
So that what you see on the screen is what Brother Aura was spitting off the top of his head. There, every man is independent of all laws. That means no matter what the laws are, technically, they don't apply to you. However, you fuck around and go out here and injure people and encroach upon someone else's rights and peace to actually just be peaceful. Say that again?
Then the law of the country will take place. That's like
Yeah.
If you go to Russia, their laws don't apply to you, but if you injure somebody, the law of the country is going to take place.
Islam. Period.
Correct.
Period.
Just like that whole, that Britney basketball player girl guy thingy.
Yikes.
Right? Who's the injured party? So again, this was just an act pertaining to tyranny.
No.
And it's not like these people don't know that. But again, remember how they said, oh, so they just traded her for a political prisoner to use her as a chess piece, to have someone that was held as a political prisoner, you know what I mean, to be traded for.
Yeah, without it looking like they're just letting criminals out.
And these things should not be happening on our planet. This should not be happening here. The reason it is happening is because of the karmic debt pertaining to being out of order years prior.
Sure.
So we need to stop warring against each other. We need to stop making merchandise of one another. Because the love of money is the root of all evil. Not like some of these dumbass memes out here. Money is the root of all evil. You're a dumbass. It's the love.
The love pertains to lower self.
Say that again.
The love pertaining to lower self.
Correct.
Which is not even really love. It's self-hate.
It's
correct.
It's an instant gratification. Dopamine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
It's like once I get it, I am.
Wow.
All right. Well, this is something I was bringing up real quick. Summary of argument. An unconscious person cannot freely and voluntarily consent to a search. Of course, if you're sleeping, you're not gonna. Yes, I consent. Search my pockets.
Hold on, see what? I'm sorry. I'm getting notifications from some jurisprudence telegram, bro. What was said?
No, I'm saying an unconscious person cannot freely and voluntarily consent to a search. So, like, if you're sleeping, you're like, yeah, you can search my pockets, yeah. Yeah, you can search the trunk of the car too. Like, no, that's not happening. Not happening. For consent to a search to be truly voluntary, the individual providing consent must have the freedom to change her mind, the right to deny or revoke consent, whether through refusal, limitation, or withdrawal, is essential for consent to a search to be voluntary. Is essential for consent to a search to be voluntary.
It's essential. It is essential.
Mm-hmm. An unconscious person is incapable of making a choice. Jesus Christ.
Why?
And thus cannot voluntarily consent. An unconscious person also cannot change her mind, and therefore has no opportunity to revoke or amend consent as a search is being conducted. Thus, this court has recognized that consent cannot be given where a person is unconscious or drugged or otherwise lacks capacity for conscious choice. But don't they give the mothers the epidural and drug them up and then ask them if they need a birth certificate, social security, vitamin K shot, you know, all of that. Those are unconscionable contracts. And then lastly, it says both Fourth Amendment jurisprudence and a wide range of other legal doctrines recognize that where the authority to act rests on an individual's consent, the consent must be voluntary.
Must.
And the individual must be free to make a choice, not to consent and to withdraw or revoke consent at any time.
At any time.
Anytime. Even if I did say it, I could say, wait, hold on.
I just realized this is for federal agents.
Hold on, you tripping. You just tried to trick me.
Mm-hmm. That's how you get hustled. You get hustled on the street and you're like, hey, hold up. Give my fire back.
Get my shit.
Yeah. You're withdrawing consent because you know fraud vitiates everything.
Mm-hmm.
In the law of rape, for example, a person's consent to sexual intercourse while conscious does not authorize her partner to have sexual intercourse with her while she is unconscious. This is so even if she has expressly agreed while conscious to sexual intercourse while she is unconscious, precisely because she would be unable to withdraw or revoke consent.
So you're fucking sick, in other words.
Yes. And the other thing I was going to show was real quick, you know, this is from case law Robin versus Hardaway, 1 Jefferson 109, right? And I thought this was interesting here. It was talking about the so-called Indians, right? Which we already know is another brand. But it says the Indians of every denomination were free. The independent of us and independent of us. So this is now this is you know, the colonies at the time. This is before the Constitution. This is late 1600s.
1670, yeah.
They were not subject to our empire. Remember this. They were independent of us, 1. They were not subject to our empire, 2. They were not represented in our legislature, 3. They derived no protection from our laws, 4. Nor could be subjected to their bonds. the lost bonds, right? They're lost bonds.
Hmm.
If natural right, independence, defect of representation, and disavowal of protection are not sufficient to keep them from the coercion of our laws, on what other principles can we justify our opposition, right? The colony's opposition to some late acts of power exercised over us by the British legislature, yet they only pretend to impose on us a paltry tax in money. We on our free neighbors the yoke of perpetual slavery.
Wow.
So right here, they're really saying like, look, you don't have no like taxation without representation. There's no representation of the specific people in the legislature. Since those aren't your representatives, they don't represent you. There is no protection from their laws. Also, at the same time, there is, like, we personally, most Americans, we do not derive protection from the laws of the United States. Our natural rights, because the Constitution was written in the spirit of divine law, and the natural rights, which are the natural right principles, which are embodied in the Bill of Rights, are pre-existing rights that were put into written form that all men have. You see what I'm saying? So we talking about have the right, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, right to bear arms, the right to petition the government for redress of grievance of one of their dumbass franchisees who are violating free people. You see what I'm saying? Like, these are inalienable rights that predate the Constitution. They pre-exist the Constitution, so they do not. So we don't derive those rights or protection of those rights from the laws of the United States. Those are pre-existent. So, and then the independence, well, there's a coerced and a moral duress aspect to the occupation with regard to the heirs of the world's largest estate, namely North, South, Central America and all adjoining islands. Yes, independence, like, technically, yeah, we are independent. Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless, indeed. You see what I'm saying? Now, as far as being respected as independence, that's a different thing, because being recognized as independent and being independent is two different things. Defect of representation, of course, they don't represent Moorish Americans. A disavowal of protection. Where is the protection, right? Because there is a vow for protection, the rights of indigenous people, you know what I'm saying? And just, those rights guaranteed in the Constitution are supposed to be upheld for anyone on the land. Why? Because it's for all free national beings. Okay, it's not just for the nationals of that land. When free national beings come and visit the land where the corporations are occupying, those rights apply to those free national beings. See what I'm saying? So that's pretty much all I was going to share from that. And you, bro.
I mean, that's perfect. It just goes to show you, reading that last portion there, it's like, that's good that, there are people who are not, protected by some other corporation's laws, which makes it even sweeter for those that speak up and go, hey, y'all know that y'all shit, it don't apply to me because it says here in your rules here that this is applying to you and any other member that has minimum contact via a state of corporation identification, via a state of driver's license,
right,
or some other business license.
Which they don't even put the driver's license on the record if you get a traffic ticket. It's like, you get a traffic ticket, like, they don't even put the instrument on the record. Like, you would think that would be like the first thing they put on the record. you have this contract with us. You know what I mean? Like, other than, if they're not saying you have this contract with us, what are they saying?
Literally.
They're not saying anything.
You have to perform.
They're saying keep that shit out. What you say?
You have to perform from said contract.
Yeah, it's a mean game of Simon Says.
Yeah.
It's a really horrible game of Simon Says.
And they don't even know who's saying it. They can't even see it. They can't even see the person who's giving the commands. Yeah, that's crazy.
And so that's why it's important for the people to just rebuttals. Like I remember, like when Brother Todd was saying, like you're going to do rebuttals and in lieu of forms, and that's just how I just look at everything. We're rebutting everything, and we're using our own ways of saying it and doing it. We're not going to fill out their documentation. It's like, look, this doesn't apply to me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, all that form filling out shit is puts you in a very subordinate position. Like, fuck you mean? Like, I'll write this shit on a leaf. You're gonna fucking read it and interpret the law accordingly. No matter, but it has to be on 8.5 by 11 and double space, and headings need to be proper, and shut your ass up.
Yeah, I didn't consent to those rules.
I didn't consent to none of that.
What I'm saying is, leave me the fuck alone.
Respectfully.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, respectfully. Like, so that's where people need to be. The people need to be at thinking, did I consent to this? Okay, well, let me let them know I didn't consent to this.
Even if you think you may have and you don't remember, tell them to produce evidence so that you can, because you can't go off, if you don't remember, then you can't go off of hearsay. You can't go off of your mind's own hearsay. Like in your mind, you don't know for sure. That's hearsay in your own mind.
Yeah, because that means you were unconscious.
I can't even support my own thought by evidence that I know is for sure true. So let me not admit to something that I can't even myself prove. You know what I mean?
Correct. So it's like, yeah, I don't consent nunc pro tunc or now.
So basically,
well, I don't know, just nunc pro tunc. I do not consent nunc pro tunc.
Yeah, straight up.
And never look to incriminate yourself. Why would you even do that in the first place? That's just stupid.
Honestly, I think.
What's your name? Identify yourself.
Why would I do that? I don't know you.
Right. What'd you say?
I don't even know you. Who are you?
Yeah, and I don't want to break the law because that would be a Fifth Bill of Right violation.
Yeah, you're definitely a stranger. Stranger danger.
My mother told me not to speak to strangers. When I was a child. And I remember.
They'd be like, is your mother a Christian? They still try to get jurisdiction. Was your mother a Christian?
Yes, I asked, do you read the Bible?
None of
do you believe in Santa?
Jingle bells. Right. Who's coming down the chimney? Speaking of which, I guess we'll close out with this.
Yay.
Who would like to read?
Oh, yes, I will read it.
Islam.
I'm excited. This is one of my favorites, yes. Okay, so religious controversy, Prophet Noble Ali. This is from the Moorish literature. All right, so in this age, there is still much religious controversy as to the right thing. Big and powerful ministers have come to the conclusion that something is wrong. Some say it is the Ten Commandments. Others say there is a lack of sincerity in the purpose of the churches. Still, others think it is all worthless and not fit for the time it takes to attend them. However, whatever their final decision might be, it is certain they will make a change, or rather try to make one. So you'll do it or you will not. The fact of the matter is that they have always had only a reflection of the truth and not the real thing. Like one who holds up to the sun a mirror and casts a few of its diverted rays in a different direction. So they have done with the truth that is supposed to have come from the east. There are but few people who know what the truth is about man, and that few know that it is foolish to try to impart it to the ignorant. Although the ignorant has finished college, he is a fool right on, being trained to jump through a hoop. The longer he stays in the schools, the better he can jump. And the more vivid will he defend his jumping, because he's the best jumper of all jumpers, right? Yeah. From the east comes all light. But though the sun is hanging at high noon, the blind cannot see. Man, poetry, I tell you. The same as the Islamic creed from the east was brought to the Asiatics of America by the Prophet, the thought of Allah, Noble Ali, and offered to those who were sick at heart. Tried for many years, yet they are blind and cannot see the light. Nor is the Prophet trying to put new wine in old skins, for he knows that it will burst them. Still, he has the only remedy for the nations. The remedy brought by Jesus, Muhammad, Confucius, and all of the other prophets, which remedy is truth. The nations do not want the truth. It is too stern. But until they accept it and find out where it is, there will continue to be religious controversy.
Islam.
This Prophet Noble Ali. Islam.
Islam.
It's in your heart. There are but
So
few
again,
people.
we're not imparting this to the ignorant. Because we know that the ignorant doesn't hear nor absorb truth.
Because they're focused on jumping and hoops.
Exactly. Uggs and Jordans. Slides and Timberlands. Right. Whatever your favorite footwear is. Whatever your favorite Pisces coverings are.
You know what's and it's even funny, it just makes me think, because you know how some more say Prophet Noble Ali didn't bring that astrology or whatever, and it's like right here it says from the east comes all light. That alone,
again, yeah,
is that you're speaking specifically on the horizon. Like what
Man, there's a star on the flag, bro. It's like where are stars at? Bro.
Flat out.
Hey,
I mean, that's why I said, man, like when people say, yeah, he didn't bring the sun, moon, and stars, that star represents the 5 synodic points that are made by the inferior conjunction of Venus, Sun, and Earth.
Where are stars?
So when that takes 8 years to happen every 583 days, if I'm not mistaken. 583 days, you get an inferior conjunction of Earth and Venus and the Sun.
They try to make it seem like astrology is a imaginary thing. Like
It's not real. It's not, because Mars isn't, so like you'll have the people now, they'll say people are lying because they'll tell you Mars is in Gemini, but it's actually in Taurus. It's like, bro, it was a difference. It was a astronomical and astrological difference that happened, obviously. But, just people don't want to study. They just want to say that they are the scholar of scholars and everything is whatever they say it is. And we just basically show documented evidence on stuff that we basically talk about.
they act like it don't get warm and bright when the sun come out. Like
Yeah. They act like the sun doesn't rise wherever they are.
it's like bro, You don't believe you don't believe in astrology, but happy Holy Venus, happy Holy Day. But happy Holy Day, right?
Yeah.
Why is it a holy day? Why is Friday the holy day?
They said but man parting in flesh has nothing to do with astrology.
Man coming into flesh has nothing to do with astrology. That's wild.
No, it doesn't, because the moon had nothing to do with me coming into no.
You are a planet. You are a Hebrew, right? Because your body is the earth. Body is the earth. You know, your mind is the heavens. All the elements are in you.
Islam.
All the constellations are within you. Oh, and don't forget, Noble Drew Ali say, get your people out the South. The South is the lower self that the people need to be taken out of. They need to come out of that lower self, that South. Get your people out of there. Islam.
Well, it's interesting too, because from the Northern Hemisphere, when you look south, that's usually the midheaven. So another thing of it being get your people out of the South, which is get them out of lower self, get them out of just looking to the sky aimlessly or without purpose.
Exporting the great qualities of humanity to heaven. Like
basically.
People act like only good comes from heaven. Or when they say things like, oh, God is good, God is this. Well, people are good too. What do you mean? Why are you exporting qualities that human beings are capable of and attributing it to something outside of yourself?
Basically, constellations. You're saying you're contributed to the constellations. The constellations are so good, but I don't believe in astrology at the same time.
Even after reading the 7 creative spirits, man, I'm done. even after reading your 101s about the 7 creative spirits and how they created everything that is, was, and evermore shall be, you still gonna say something like that?
Like, how do you actually come? How do you debate that with such a finite mind? Like, how do you actually debate it?
Yeah, that's probably the answer right there with the finite mind. That's how. Yeah.
Like, it's bananas. But guys, we appreciate you. Brother Terrell Tamari Bey with the sauce. Appreciate you, bro, too. As always, you guys will see Brother Terrell and Brother Sean do the Intuition Mondays. So you guys catch that early, right? So you guys can get a hold of that. I and Brother R are going to be doing our thing behind the scenes like we do. Get that jurisprudence exercise on to be able to bring just not only more to our own minds, but to our brothers and our beloved mothers, and whom we're well pleased, as well as to the rest of you that are wise enough to pick up and further study yourselves the wisdom that we share to you. Because again, we're not imparting this to a fool. That's not our intentions at all. We know that we're, freely on YouTube every Sunday, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we're going over concepts and ideas that, technically we are to be compensated for that. However, I know the universe conspires in all of our favors accordingly and easily with no issue. I'm pretty sure that that is what happens. We appreciate you too. Mother Sahar, Islam, Muslim, says Martin Elliott, divine peace and love, indeed. So, Brother R, you've got the host, guys. I, Brother Hasan Ghaziel Bey, like to thank you all. Thank my beloved brothers, the whom I'm well pleased, Brother R. Mwaba Bey, Brother Terrell Samari Bey. Guys, get your CMOS from our beloved brother, Exalted Cyclops, right? Brother Corey Bey at One Heart Supplements. Right, guys, remember, if you're not a part of any of the other social medias, Instagram, whatever the case may be, not put it like this. go to 7hillstar.com, click the About Us tab in the menu, or it's About Us at the top right, or just check the menu, little 3 lines that mean menu on the, the mobile version, and click About Us, and you'll get access to all of our Instagrams, at least, if not the TikToks. Or usually you'll be able to find us on TikTok too. You go through that Instagram enough, you're like, oh, okay, that's their TikTok handle, and you guys will be able to see it. Remember, Prophet Noble Drew Ali University, as always, is freely out there for you guys. I know where so many people are asking for finances in a certain way and certain sums or whatever. I know probably people think that we should. It's just that I just see that we're operating on a different energy. But that doesn't mean that we are to not receive elementary tuition, or we're not to be respected for what it is that we can do, right? So we really appreciate you guys for what it is that you've done for us, as far as just being sincere and coming to check us out. Like because now it's up to, at first it was just like 3, 4, 5. Now it's up to about 10 to 15 average. Friday was about 20 of you guys. So we appreciate you. There's so many other people out here in the social media world, they're just looking for these large numbers and stuff like that, or whatever, you know what I mean? Islam to you too, Brother Derek. Islam, right? So any last questions, comments, and or suggestions from my beloved brothers? Going once. Questions, comments, and or suggestions going twice.
I was going to say something.
What'd you say?
I was going to say something, but it slipped my mind. Damn.
Be yourself and donate, right?
This is what it was. If like whoever's watching or whatever, if you guys have anything or any topics or certain questions that you guys may have that you may want us to address, that may be, you can probably put that in the chat or in the comment section or whatever, so we can probably get to that or whatever, if that helps. But yeah, that's what comes to mind. With that, I yield.
Well, guys, we'd like to thank you all so much. We will see you all next day, not just tomorrow, but the next day, right? For Intuition Monday with Brother Sean, Alim, and Brother Terrell, Tamari Bey. And then Wednesday, you will see Brother Sean, Brother Terrell, and I for the 7-day Chartered Medical Astro Weather Report. And you guys know Friday is Impromptu Improv, and Sunday is AstroCivics Sunday. And you will just get whichever one of the brothers will show up. And shout out also, we said One Heart Supplements, to get your sea moss from Brother Corey, as well as our brother Braveheart L, Brother Sean, Alim L, who was instrumental in making sure that there was a hashtag for 7 Hillstar on TikTok, which I think is well above 420K views. So shout out to all of you guys that have viewed the hashtag 7 Hillstar on TikTok. What'd you say, bro?
And 7 Hillstar YouTube channel is up 20 subscribers since last Friday.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Since last Sunday, I mean, because it was 400. Remember, it's 420 now.
Oh wow, you guys are awesome. Way to go, guys! You guys are awesome. Well, thank you for subscribing. It's funny because astrology, our Astrology Street YouTube channel is almost at 600. However, when it comes to the babies and the astrology together, astrology for the youth, and that allows the grown mothers and sons that brought the youth to the planet to all be able to go get along with the astrology in a fun way. So I guess eventually 7 Hillstar's YouTube channel will be caught up to the Astrology Street All Rights Reserved YouTube channel. However, we're very grateful and thankful because those numbers are sincere numbers.
Yeah, 266 videos.
Yeah, and counting.
Right, because this is 67 and tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, right? Because we're doing 4 videos a strong instead of saying 4 videos a week. So you got every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You're getting, videos. So before you know it, we'll be at 300 videos. So with that being said, guys, we love you. We want you to rest and recharge well. and get ready for Intuition Monday. All right. And I'm going to say namaste to you all. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Islam, 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 y'all. Peace.
Islam.
Peace and love, everybody.
Islam, people.